The Entrepreneur's Library, episode 44.
Welcome to the Entrepreneur's Library, the only book-centric podcast that reviews all the top-selling business books and shares authors' perspective firsthand. This is your resource to finding the next great book that will enable you to grow personally and professionally. Welcome your host, Wade Danielson.
Thank you for joining us today on the EL. Today we have someone a little bit different. His name is Brandon Epstein. And by different, I mean that he's going to cover a topic that we haven't really had on the Entrepreneur's Library before. He's going to cover limitless energy. He actually has a book that came out here fairly recently, and we'll get into that in the actual interview. But I actually met Brandon a few weeks prior to this recording at a conference, and we spoke for a long time. He's got a great personality. He's got a rockin' business that he has down in Austin, Texas, and sometimes we, as entrepreneurs, we look past, we're so looking towards wealth that we forget about health. And today's going to talk about a subject that I think is extremely relevant, something that I'm always looking for, and that's limitless energy. And so let's jump right in. Welcome, Brandon, and thank you for joining us on the Entrepreneur's Library.
Thank you, Wade. So happy to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Will you take just a moment to introduce yourself and tell us just a little bit about you personally?
Absolutely. So my name is Brandon Epstein. I have a company, Entrepreneur Fitness, where we actually take all the inspiration and tools possible and we throw it up on entrepreneurfitness.com. We try to provide it as resources for entrepreneurs to help them take their game to the next level. So that's increasing energy, increasing satisfaction in their work, and increasing overall performance.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. Now let's jump right into your book, Limitless Energy, which was made available for purchase July 29th, 2014. And Brandon, we're going to move fairly quickly, but these are the top questions that our listener/reader wants to get answered. And the very first one is, what was the inspiration behind writing Limitless Energy?
Yeah, so I actually have a background in, I was a professional fitness model turned entrepreneur with an app company with over 50 apps in the store. And I realized as I got into entrepreneurship, I realized is that the number one most important resource available to me at any time was energy. And I just did not see many resources out there specifically targeting entrepreneurs saying, hey, here is something that's going to allow you to have limitless energy every single day where you can wake up inspired and you don't need to go to synthetic things like caffeine, Adderall, other types of nootropics. And so that was really my inspiration, is providing natural resources for people to use to have energy all day long.
So what would you say makes your book different than the others? I guess there's a lot of other books out there on energy, but what makes your book different than the others regarding this topic?
Definitely. So I think a lot of entrepreneurs write books and they're very business oriented and they're very tactical. But what I'm doing is I'm targeting entrepreneurs and I'm giving them something that I believe is going to uplift all these other tactical things they're doing. And that resource is energy. Because when you provide enough energy, it allows you to take all these other tools you have at your disposal and use them with much more effectiveness.
And how would you suggest the reader actually engage with your book? Is this the kind of book that they can jump in and out of, grabbing different resources? Or is this one that you really suggest that they read from front to back?
I would definitely say this is the kind of book that you can go grab a piece here and there. So it's really centered around 10 simple habits you can incorporate to your daily routine. And so if you want to grab one day and then go back for another, that's 100% fine. Of course, I'm always into optimizing. So I think implementing all 10 of these into your habits every single day are the best. But it is a book where you can pick and choose what you want on a daily basis.
So Brandon, you just alluded to those 10 habits. And this is my favorite part of the interview, where we can actually have you just hand over the mic and have you take us through your creation. So in the next couple minutes, or take as long as you need, but will you basically uncover your book for us?
Absolutely, Wade. I'd be happy to do so. You ready for me to jump in?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. So I came up with these 10 simple daily habits that really allow people to maximize their energy without any synthetic uses of other kind of drugs. So through these 10 simple daily habits, it's supposed to give you the tools to be able to keep energy from the second you wake up to when you fall asleep at night, and allow you to do so in a very healthy way. So we're going to start with the first habit, Something very simple. And I do coaching with clients. When I first bring this up to them, many times they kind of look at me like, "Are you kidding me, man?" But I have to say it every time because it's so powerful and it's so logical. So the first daily habit is breathing properly. So most of us are taking very shallow breaths through our upper respiratory system, and we're not really taking deep lower belly breaths, which allows for full oxygenation of our entire body. So if you're not breathing properly, you're only getting about 70% oxygenation. And when you do so, you're really missing out on a large amount of energy that you could be circulating through our entire body. Because of course, oxygen is that one resource that we need within 4 to 6 minutes or we die. So that's why I think it's so logical to start there and make sure people are breathing properly. Breathing properly also is going to allow people to increase energy, and it's going to allow them to gain a little bit of perspective throughout their day and be able to step back and get out of the overwhelm, which so many entrepreneurs are always in. And it's so simple, but something like 10 deep lower belly breaths can take you out of the overwhelm and give you perspective. So I'm not going to get too deep into all of those. I'm going to hop onto the second one. Really simple, hydration. Again, our brains, which we use as entrepreneurs every single day, this is what we need, right? Our brains are made up of 75% water. That is massive. And over 75% of Americans are chronically dehydrated, which is crazy. So when we think about these stats, how so many people are dehydrated, we can see that we're missing out a lot of energy that we could have and a lot of perceived happiness that we could have as well as entrepreneurs. So hydration is huge. And doing something as simple as trying to consume at least half your body weight in water on a daily basis is going to really help you increase your energy. So hopping into number three. Number three is something I call the energizer. This technique uses a couple different things. It uses some incantations. So it uses self-talk and affirmation, as well as some movement with your body. And it's something that really kind of gets you juiced. So I like to think of it, I was a former college football player. And I think of the energizer as like, something that I would do when I just got like a sack and I was pumped up in the game to bring myself back into that peak state. Because when we're working, we do our most resourceful and best work when we're in our best states. So if we can maximize our peak states, we're going to be able to perform better. So techniques like the energizer, they sound silly, they make you feel a little bit uncomfortable, but when you do them, they really are life-changing. So that's why I incorporated that as habit number three. Habit number four, meditation. So I call it energy meditation specifically. And when you read the book, you'll learn a little bit more about what kind of meditation actually increases the most energy. But a rule of thumb, if you're someone who always is looking for more time, that most precious resource that none of us seem to have enough of, meditation just for 20 minutes a day in alpha brainwaves allows you to make up for at least an hour of sleep. So if you take an hour of sleep out and you add in 20 minutes of meditation halfway through your day, you're going to be able to program your unconscious for more success, more energy, and you're going to just have more productive time to use. So this is so, so powerful. And I cannot downplay how important meditation is into your daily practice, especially if you're someone who often gets into overwhelm or has a hard time staying focused or just is chronically tired. So the next thing I want to talk about is nutrition. Food is so important as far as staying in peak state as an entrepreneur. If you go throughout your workday and you're eating very simple carbohydrates that are spiking your insulin, what you're doing is you're programming yourself to come up and get on a short high and then crash. And when you do this, you're not going to be in your most resourceful state. You're going to lose your energy. You're not going to feel as happy. You're not going to be able to perform as well as you would be otherwise. So this chapter, this habit really talks about the type of foods that you should be eating, how frequently you should be eating, and how to make sure that we're feeding our brain what we need. Because our brain is made up of mostly fat. So isn't it logical that we feed our brain high-fat diets? These are all things I talk about in this chapter, and they're so powerful. Another thing, when we go throughout our workday, many of us, especially entrepreneurs, when you're working on your own business, you'll spend 8 hours straight working without even thinking about eating. And then all of a sudden you go into like starvation mode and you grab the first thing you see around you. And if we can really program ourselves to eat more frequently every 3 to 4 hours, we avoid this starvation mode. We're not going to be putting ourselves in a less resourceful state where we just have to grab the first thing that we see. So food is huge. Many people think that food is going to only affect us down the road. Many, the old saying like, oh, I'm really going to regret this tomorrow. Well, we really are going to see a difference in our state change within minutes of eating. So it's more so than the physical effects we'll have down the road. It's the effect it will have on your energy and your peak state in the minutes and hours following eating. Number 6, moving your body is so powerful. I'm sure you've seen in every entrepreneur blog, it's the hottest thing now, talking about exercising first thing in the morning. And it really is a powerful thing. Just get it in any time of day, but make sure you're exercising, because when you do, you're releasing endorphins and you're getting blood flow throughout your body and more so to your brain. Exercising is just one of those things that you have to incorporate into your daily routine if you want to have high energy. And it's something that I really tell people to do to break up their day. So if you're sitting at your desk for 4 hours straight, get up, do some push-ups, do some jumping jacks, get the blood flowing throughout your body so it can circulate through your brain and you can be in a more resourceful state. So moving, exercising is so powerful, and I get into it in detail in the book. Next thing I talk about, making sure that you're recharging your battery. So this isn't just sleep, but sleep is a big part of this. When we're not sleeping enough, our bodies just cannot function optimally. And the most recent research done shows that about 7 hours of sleep on average has been shown to be the optimal amount of sleep for humans to be in their most healthy and resourceful state. Of course, if you're just hitting the pavement hard and you're killing it all day long and you're working 14-hour days, then maybe you need to spend a little bit more time sleeping. Maybe you need to allow yourself to rest. And you have to really think about how this is going to affect your performance the next day. So take the time to rest, recharge your battery. There's other techniques, but again, I'm not going to get deep into those quite yet. The next habit, I like to think of energy just like a muscle. Energy is something that not only is something we're naturally producing and creating on a minute-by-minute basis, but energy is something that we can program to increase for a longer period of time. So what do I mean by this? I mean that I think that energy, just like when we train a muscle, gets stronger. So the more time we spend in high energy, the easier it is for us to get back to high energy. Just like when you're lifting a weight. If you lift 25 pounds every single day, in 2 months, 25 pounds is going to feel really light. And it's going to be easy to lift that weight. So we want to program ourselves to be high energy all the time, because it just continually sets the bar higher and higher, gives you more energy, gives you more productive time doing the things that you love. Next habit I talk about is making sure you're living an inspired life. If you're doing things that are constantly draining you of energy, then it's really hard to get back into that resourceful state. So when you can, do everything you can to force yourself to do things that inspire you. Do things that make you feel uncomfortable from time to time. Those are the kind of things that are really going to stretch you and make you feel inspired. That's the juice, So when we go and we think about going and giving a public speech and we get our adrenaline pumping, what is that? That's energy entering our body. That's ourselves getting juiced up and jacked, right? We want to increase the amount of time that we can spend with this energy and this increased state of optimism and enthusiasm. And the more time we can spend there and the more time we can spend inspired, the better we can perform. And again, the more time we spend like this, the easier it becomes. So I want to recommend everyone spends more time getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. So doing things that stretch you, inspire you. And then finally, I want to talk about creating morning routines. So instead of just launching off into your day and being at effect of the world and just allowing circumstances to create the reality that unfolds before you, instead create a morning routine where you start your day and you have your phone on airplane mode. And so you're not affected, you're not bombarded with text messages and emails in the morning that may or may not change your mood. Instead, you keep your phone on airplane mode. and you go through a solid morning routine. You oxygenate your body with deep lower belly breaths. You hydrate. You go through affirming statements. You set intentions for the day. You go through gratitude. You do all the things you need to do in the morning to take care of yourself, to make sure that you launch off into your day in peak state with the ultimate state of resourcefulness and energy. And so this is so, so powerful. And of course, this is the same thing you're seeing in many entrepreneur blogs right now. Everyone's talking about how important it is to set a consistent morning routine. And I think it's so important because it really sets you up with abundant energy for the rest of the day. So those are the 10 main habits that I outline in my book, Limitless Energy. And so if you want to check that out, I get much deeper into each one of these. But you can kind of see now, if you incorporate all these things on a daily basis, it really has incredibly profound effects in your life.
So Brandon, first of all, thank you for sharing that. And second, you just went through a ton of very valuable information. And I think that's what makes this next question so difficult. And if that's if the reader can only take away one concept or principle or action item out of your entire book, what would you want that to be?
Sure. I think the one thing that is the most simple that anyone can do is just be incredibly conscious with hydrating yourself. And it sounds simple, and I would love to say something that is more complex, something that digs deeper, because there are a lot of awesome techniques that I talk about in the book. But this is such a simple thing. And as I said, 75% of people are dehydrated. Over 85% of our brain is made of water. Like, this is the resource we need so desperately to perform our best. And so if you're gonna do one thing, really focus on trying to drink half your body weight in ounces of water every single day. And it's gonna be hard getting there at first, but take baby steps, really try to bring a water bottle around with you whenever you can. And because if you're dehydrated, you just cannot be in your peak mind state. And that's what we're really constantly striving towards as entrepreneurs.
Brandon, is there a water, and maybe you talk about this further in your book as well, but is there a water or a method of getting water that you suggest?
There are definitely better types of water other than, ones that you're just going to get from tap. But, those kind of water would be a water that have gone through reverse osmosis filtration systems. That's the best form of water out there, but these systems can be quite expensive. So when we're just talking about, making sure that we can drink enough water on a daily basis, it doesn't really matter what kind of water you're drinking, right? We're just trying to make this habit to start. And if you're able to get this habit down, then you can take the leaps to this next step, and you can get yourself a reverse osmosis filtration system, and you can just become a beast with the water you drink. But to start, just drink water, wherever you can find it. Just make sure that you're consuming it.
Okay, perfect. And Brandon, this next question is it might be a little bit awkward, but it's meant to give a quote from your book that you wrote. Do you have a favorite quote, or do you have one that maybe people have already read your book and it resonates well with them and they've shared it?
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to steal a quote. Actually, it's not mine, but I used it in my book. And I think it's incredibly powerful, and it's something that I try to live my life by every single day. And it's a quote actually by John Lennon, and he says, "The more real you get, the more unreal your life gets." And I mentioned this quote in the Live an Inspired Life chapter on energy, and it's really about consistently doing these things to become more and more authentic, and doing these things to get more and more uncomfortable with getting more and more comfortable with the uncomfortable, and stretching ourselves. Because when we stretch ourselves, we're constantly taking ourselves to states of higher energy because it's uncomfortable. And so we have to dig down deep, and we have to enter new states of mind to accomplish things. So that's definitely my favorite quote, because I think that's one thing people really need to live by every day, just being more authentic.
So I believe your book is going to be the kind of book that's going to create paradigm shifts and help entrepreneurs move forward. And that leads us to our last question, which is really, is there another book that you've read? It doesn't have to be on health, doesn't even have to be on entrepreneurship, but is there a book that you've read that created a paradigm shift for you or really impacted your life? And can you share that with us?
Yeah, definitely. So a book that I really like that's It's not really on this topic. It's not even necessarily on the topic of entrepreneurship necessarily. The book is called Biology of Belief, and it's written by, I believe his name is Bruce Lipton. And this book talks about the power of our thoughts and our emotions on our physical health and our cells and our genes. And it's incredibly interesting because this book talks about how important it is to maintain this positive dialogue with yourself, which I think, again, does relay back to energy, because this positive dialogue with yourself is affecting your health. It's affecting your states of being on a daily basis. And so it's affecting your overall perceived happiness of your life. And so this isn't necessarily, it's more of a scientific book, but I really enjoyed it as an entrepreneur, understanding how much power I have over what unfolds in my life, knowing that the thoughts I hold and the emotions I experience are affecting my cells, that I can program it down to a cellular level. That is so profound and powerful to me. And it's just a really present book for me right now, doing the research I'm doing on energy and finding out how much control we really do have on the energy that we naturally produce.
Thank you for that recommendation. That's actually the first time that one's been recommended, and it's the first time I've actually heard of that book, so I'm excited to look that one up. And Brandon, before we depart, can you recommend the best way for our listeners to get more information on you and your book, Limitless Energy?
Absolutely. So you can find my book on Amazon. It's available as an ebook. It's about to be available in paperback as well. You can look it up. If you actually just go to the Kindle store and you search the keyword health, it should come up, I think, one or two. It wasn't, because it was a number one bestseller, so it's staying up there, ranked pretty high. And it's titled Limitless Energy, 10 Simple Daily Habits to Naturally Boost Energy. And if you want to find out more about me, head over to entrepreneurfitness.com. And anyone who's enjoyed the content I've talked about today and stuff in the book, I'd be happy to give you a free 30-minute discovery session where we can talk about maximizing your performance as an entrepreneur in health and nutrition and exercise and overall mental mind states. So yeah, head over there and you can get a hold of me through the coaching contact form.
Brandon, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your creation, your book with us.
It's my pleasure, Wade. Thank you so much for having me.
Definitely. Thanks again for listening in today. If you would like to get your hands on Limitless Energy or any of the other resources mentioned by Brandon, just look at the show notes at the elpodcast.com. And if there is a book you would love to hear reviewed by the author, please visit us on iTunes and leave us a review with that book title.
Looking for your next book idea? Head over to the elpodcast.com, where Wade shares his amazing resource, the top 10 business books recommended by over 500 entrepreneurs, with you for free. That's the elpodcast.com. Till the next time, keep it on the EL.